What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and we have crazy news. Fiendsmith is coming to Master Duel on the 6th of February, meaning very soon. So I thought I'm already, before the cards are even in the game, going to break it down, and I'm going to tell you what I'm expecting to have those Fiendsmith cards of an impact. So in general, I think it's fair to say at the beginning that Fiendsmith cards are going to have a massive impact, and they're going to change the metagame drastically, or at least influence it by influencing some decks that are already in the game, but also making like new variations of decks that are completely different from what we have seen so far. So, by my experience as a TCG player and TCG caster, I think as an introduction to the Fiendsmith cards, you can say that in the beginning, we have used them as huge combo enablers. Around the time of the European Championship 2024, mainly, it was supporting big combo decks like Snake Eye, Fiendsmith Azamina, and Yubel Fiendsmith. Those were the big combo decks that were just using those cards together with Beatrice, together with Fiendsmith Lacrima, and basically, of course, also with Tract and then the Engraver. But it was definitely a much more combo-orientated approach. And now recently, very recently, actually beginning with Vices Bologna at the end of 2024, people have started to get a little bit new of an interpretation on the deck. In Bologna, it was Fiendsmith Kashtira, which basically was using the Fiendsmith cards as a grindy engine that helped you play longer grind games, helped you to outlast the opponent, stopped your opponent with a bunch of hand interactions, and then with just so little cards, sometimes even one Ash Blossom plus a Veiler, if you could normal summon them into consecutive turns, would equal Moon of the Closed Heaven. And then you go into Fiendsmith Requiem, and then you have Fiendsmith combo. It's two monsters. That's all you need, and that will bridge you into the Fiendsmith cards, into the Fiendsmith engine, in basically whatever deck you could imagine. So we are going to break down the meta and how it's going to look like with those Fiendsmith cards coming into the game. And I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking, whether now in Master Duel we're going to see the approach of the Fiendsmith cards being used as combo enablers, or the Fiendsmith cards being used as those grindy, supportive cards for a lot of different engines. So, first of all, a deck that is not going to use the Fiendsmith cards whatsoever, and that is going to be Branded. Branded has always been a threat in Master Duel, mainly the 60-card version. On the 6th of February, there's also a new Forbidden Unlimited list releasing, and therefore I do think that Branded is going to struggle against the Fiendsmith decks, but it's still definitely going to be around. So I think it's not going to be bad enough, quote-unquote, to put it into Rogue. Therefore, I'm probably, like, I'm kind of between Challenger and High Potential. It doesn't have high potential to me, but also Challenger sounds a bit weird. So maybe actually thinking about it, when this category and this category don't really fit, how about we do just in the end put it into Rogue? Because I don't see it going anywhere above that. By the way, thanks for the follows coming in right now, everyone. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, next time, better be live with us on Twitch. We are live on here every single day of the week, trying to be. My internet is struggling at the moment, but usually Monday to Friday I will be there. So next time, just catch us doing this live here all together. So, we do have the Branded deck in Rogue for the moment. I know it's not like the classical Rogue deck, but it will struggle with all the Fiendsmith cards around. So I will put it in Rogue for the moment, because I don't really want to name it High Potential, you know? That's mainly my issue with it. But okay, next one, we do have White Forest. And White Forest, quietly, but very well, might also be a huge profiter of the new pack. You could play the Fiendsmith cards in there, but way more importantly, they just already get LZ. They get the LZ that we have just received in Supreme of Darkness and TCG. So they get that new tool super early, and therefore it will be really interesting to see. And therefore, you can tell me in the comments whether you disagree or not. I think it's a high potential deck, because people in Master Duel already like to play the White Forest strategy a lot, and now with the new LZ coming into the game as well, I can see this deck making some waves. Maybe also, though, everyone just wants to go after Fiendsmith decks and just disregards the White Forest strategy completely. But I like the idea of it. I think it could definitely be seeing some play, and therefore high potential is the category. And now, the symbol is Fiendsmith Engraver, and the way we're going to approach this is I'm going to basically group all the pure Fiendsmith decks, but just play like some small engines next to it together with this. Mainly what I mean with that is Fiendsmith Kashtira, Musketeer Fiendsmith, maybe some Bestial Fiendsmith variants. This is all somewhat grouped together with this symbol of Fiendsmith Engraver, and I can add that this is basically the control approach. All the decks that I mentioned there were the decks that were recently discovered in the TCG, and therefore they're absolutely more of a control deck instead of a combo deck. And let me tell you something. I think in the TCG, these decks were only discovered and embraced because the huge combo enablers for the Fiendsmith deck, they were not there anymore. Fiendsmith Lacrima and Beatrice are both forbidden currently in the TCG, but guess what? They're completely legal in Master Duel, and therefore, I think the combo approach to the Fiendsmith decks is going to be way more important and way more played and way stronger in the beginning. And then maybe along the way, when we do get additional hits to the Fiendsmith cards, because I do expect them to come eventually, then the more control, pure-ish Fiendsmith decks will be able to shine more. For the moment, though, I don't think these are really necessarily top meta decks, and I will only put them into Challenger for the moment right now. Then next up on the list, we do have Fire King, which for the moment is one of the absolute top decks in Master Duel, and it is the most popular Snake Eye version. Guess what, though? It will not be the most popular Snake Eye version after this release of Fiendsmith cards anymore. Snake Eye, Azamina, Fiendsmith is going to completely take over. I don't think people will even play this anymore, to be honest. And therefore, I do think it will have to go down low. It's probably still a little too good to put it into high potential or rogue, and therefore I will add it into the challenger category. I'm not super thrilled about this deck, though. I don't think a lot of people will play this overall, and therefore I do think, yeah, not very high hopes for the deck, but probably on paper still a challenger deck in the end. Also, good point by Haz in chat. Appaloosa, legal in Master Duel. Guess what? Combo decks love that. So I think we're still going to have like a really big combo format overall. Next up on the list, Gimmick Puppet. Gimmick Puppet is not played with Fiendsmith. I guess you could technically, but like, it's a deck that wants to win the game on the first turn, so you don't necessarily need the Fiendsmith cards for that. They might be... with this one, it's really tough. I think, honestly, it's a rogue deck. I have to be short and harsh with it. People are going to play a million hand interactions because they want to stop those strong combo decks in the format, being the Fiendsmith Yubel and Fiendsmith Snake Eye Azamina decks. And therefore, I just don't think this is going to be that well of a pick because people are just going to have so many things to stop it overall. And therefore, I do believe it's only a rogue deck. Tell me if you think that I'm wrong, but that's my take on it currently. Next up on the list, Voiceless Voice. Voiceless Voice is really popular right now in Master Duel. Played on high ladder quite a bit. Decently successful. And I mean, I was just saying that a lot of people are going to play hand interactions to target those big combo decks. And guess what? Those hand interactions are not that great versus Voiceless Voice. So, maybe that trend is going to continue. Also, side note, you can technically play Fiendsmith Voiceless Voice as well. So, actually, I think Voiceless, looking at the decks we have here at the moment, I would rather play Voiceless than Gimmick Puppet or Branded. Therefore, Voiceless Voice, straight up into the high potential category, I think it's fine. Beatrice Dumb Sephira, yep. Decade Live in chat actually is making a good point there. Next up on the list, Mathmech. Mathmech mainly was popular because Tenpai was so incredibly popular, and Mathmech has somewhat of a decent matchup against that. I don't think Tenpai is going to be as popular anymore now with the new cards releasing. Therefore, also the strength of picking the Mathmech deck goes down significantly. has to be joining the Rogue family down here. Bestials are also a thing, so I really would not want to play Mathmech at the moment. Gotta be honest with you. Then now, next on the list, Yubel, already a top deck in the current meta, but has been struggling against the Tenpai Dragon deck. Because Tenpai, they were running Multiarmy Purrely, they were running Multiarmy Fuvalas, they were running a million cards to stop the Fiendsmith, to stop the Tenpai, to stop the Yubel deck. But they're getting new tools. It will be interesting to see, because in the TCG, Aerial Eater was a huge part why this deck was so good. Aerial Eater was played in so many different combos, and we do not... I mean, we don't know the entire content of the pack yet, but we do not expect to get Aerial Eater in Master Duel just yet. Therefore, it will be a bit different. The deck is still very, 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 very strong, though. And therefore, I think anything but putting it into top meta would be disregarding the power level of this deck. And yeah, Darkor is saying it's completely true. We still have the Fusion Lacrima. We still have Beatrice. That's basically all we need. That's all we need to make this deck top meta. It was top meta. It will be top meta. It will be a dominating deck in the upcoming format. Next up on the list, Purrely. Another quick mention. Purrely, we have seen it in the TCG, technically can be played with the Fiendsmith cards. There's all kind of different variants with Purrely, and one of them is also the Fiendsmith version, because, hear me out, activate a Purrely spell, discard Fabled Lurry, because you play triple Fabled Lurry in that version of the deck. Kind of fun, isn't it? Kind of fun. So maybe people are going to try this out. I think people are more so going to be drawn towards the other decks. They're going to be drawn towards Yubel, going to be drawn towards the Snake Eye Fiendsmith Azamina stuff. So I like the idea of it. It's probably, at the end of the day, though, rather a rogue deck. I will put it in front of these decks, though, because I think there's some cool experimental potential with the Purrely deck. I do not think it is going to be massively played, though, after all. So, next up, then, good old Poplar. Man, how long is good old Poplar following us through that game already now? It has been super, super, super strong for so long of a TCG. It is still going so strong in Master Duel now as well. And now we get the Fiendsmith cards. Now we get the Azamina cards. Guess what? In the TCG, Fiendsmith, Azamina, Snake Eye was the best deck. And it probably is not a surprise to many of you, but I will not surprise you in any way here either. It is going to be the best deck in Master Duel as well. It is just so strong. It's so explosive. It gets Omni Negates with Ilya Sylvia if we get that for... I'm expecting that because it's just one of those Azamina cards. Should be meta warping, should be the best deck. Competing with that deck, of course. But one thing is, it's rather... like, Yubel is more effective by Bestials, and I think Bestials might be a factor. So I think, yeah, we're going to see Snake Eye, Fiendsmith, Azamina being the best deck. Is Deception confirmed? Shaby, Deception is not confirmed. No, we're still playing a little bit of a guessing game here. So don't take what I say here for 100% just yet, because the entire card pool of the new pack is not released. We only got the announcement about like 5 cards that are coming. We know that Engraver is coming, and we know that Azamina Moa Regina, I think it's called. Moa Regina is coming. So that's a symbol to us that Azamina cards are coming, and that also, of course, Fiendsmith cards are coming. We do not necessarily know for sure, though, whether that's all going to be... we don't even know if we have main deck Lacrima, which changes a lot. True, true. It is a bit of a guessing game, but that's the best guess we can go for at the moment. And I think it is going to be very, very popular. Haha, got the pun. And yeah, so that's going to be very interesting. And now the next one is also going to be very, very interesting. Because Tearlaman's Fiendsmith was a pretty good deck in the TCG. But it was not as good as Yubel and Snake Eye Fiendsmith Azamina. Now, hear me out, though. We all know in Master Duel there is still Tearlaman's kit colors around. So I don't, like, my head struggles to even think about this situation. We do have a fully working Telemans Fiendsmith deck. I actually think this is crazy. I actually think, and this may be a hot take, but I think this is almost the level of these decks. I think this is for now a top meta contender for sure. Telemans are not bad, but Bestials were hurt. Yeah, Bestials will be played for sure. But yeah, there you see it. Top meta contender for me. Let me know in the comments whether you think it's not, or whether you think Kit Colors will have more glorious times over the next couple of weeks. But I do expect, I mean, it will definitely be played massively. And I think the potential is there. The potential definitely is there. But let's see. I hope you're right. Oh man, all the tier believers are already hoping in the comments and hoping in the chat that I will be right. I hope so too. I hope so too. Next up on the list, Tenpai. Currently the dominating deck of Master Duel. Currently winning basically every single tournament that is played. High ladder, you see Tenpai everywhere. Now the Fiendsmith cards are going to give the deck a lot of trouble, but you still gotta remember, when they play 2 Maxi and 6 Charmies, the Fiendsmith cards don't really help you necessarily. Because the Fiendsmith cards in those combo decks, they are just further combo enablers. So they're just going to make your combo bigger, make your combo go more consistent. But if you cannot play your combo because your opponent is just drawing a million cards when you perform your combo, it's still going to be a problem. Therefore, Tenpai still is up there. It definitely still is up there. Fiendsmith helps you play around Purrely. Yeah. Fiendsmith does help playing around Purrely a little bit. That's true. What was that timer? Where did that timer come from? Huh? Chat, did you hear that timer? Why was there a timer sound? I have no idea, man. Why was there a timer sound? I guess time is over. Whatever time it is, but time is over. No, we have 2 more decks to go. Next up on the list, another Challenger Cup round over. Time to get Fiendsmith. Yeah, time to get Fiendsmith. That's a good one. That's a good one. Chimera and Chimera enjoyers are eating good because LZ, which is releasing, the new LZ that in the TCG only came out in Supreme Darkness, is coming into the game so early. And therefore, Chimera, already a decent deck in the game right now, is going to be played with the Fiendsmith cards as well now, because that's what we did in the TCG. Works really well, works hand in hand. And then also, they are going to be able to play the Azamina cards, possibly. I see this deck performing. I see this deck doing well. It's not on the top meta level yet, but I think it's going to be in the Challenger category for sure. I think it's definitely in the Challenger category, and that's where I want to put it here. And then, last but not least, Labyrinth. Another side note, Labyrinth can also technically be played with Fiendsmith. We saw that being the case in the TCG. Not very often, though. It was only very, very few that actually did that. And therefore, I think the more popular version still is just going to be regular Labyrinth, if you ask me personally. Because the deck is a control deck. You don't really need the combo enablers of the Fiendsmith cards. And regular control decks are going to be struggling into the big combo decks. And therefore, like, especially Snake Eye Fiendsmith Azamina with, like, the Omni Negate it has, going to be a tough one, not gonna lie. Therefore, even though it hurts, I'll put it into Rogue. It's a decent Rogue deck, very decent Rogue deck, but I will put it down there. Let me know in the comments if you think it's different, but I think that is where it does belong for the moment. So, we'll have to see. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my first take on the Fiendsmith cards and how they are going to impact the Master Duel meta game. If you have a different opinion, please make sure to let me know in the comments. Also, leave a like to this video and subscribe to the channel because there's plenty of content happening on here. Thank you everyone for watching. Until the next one.